Our next guest here on TSB is a renowned global expert in functional medicine from the Wellth Centre in Jumeirah. Dr. Lipman comes with years of experience in anti-aging to the UAE, and he brings to his practice insights that no two bodies are alike, and his functional medicine approach combines advanced wellness technology and rooted lifestyle intervention to protect, detect, treat and reverse illness. Now, according to this evidence-based practice, it's the best way to counter chronic and age-related illnesses. It's to begin early. Prevention, as they say, is better than a cure as the concern manifests or even exists, and to help prevent what could possibly happen. So joining us via Zoom this afternoon is Dr. Frank Lipman. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us here on Talk 100.3.
Thanks for having me. Nice to hear an Australian accent.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate. Well, we're happy to say that neither Australia or South Africa made it very far this World Cup, so we can commiserate together.
All right. So, Doctor, now, first question, obviously, that comes to everyone's mind. We've known various forms of medicine. Allopathy is the biggest branch of medicine that we've understood and known. But what is functional medicine?
So functional medicine is a science-based approach to medicine where we use the concepts from the East about improving function and creating balance, but then we use the biochemistry, the physiology, and the testing of Western medicine. And then ultimately we use lifestyle changes. We use diet, how you sleep, exercise, and supplements to get to the root cause of a problem. So we're really looking for the cause of an issue. It's not just treating symptoms. In Western medicine, too often we just give a drug to suppress symptoms. Functional medicine, we look for the underlying cause.
When you're working in different parts of the world, how open do you find that patients are to being a part of functional medicine?
Well, good question. I'm not sure. It seems that my short experience here has been actually quite phenomenal to see how open everyone is. It's taken time. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. And it's, initially it was just celebrities and artists who were sort of gravitating towards this. Now it's becoming more and more mainstream in the United States. I'm in New York, so it's maybe a little bit different, but it's growing. Its popularity is growing, and I'm actually quite surprised how many people know about it here and how many people actually want to use it. So it's quite interesting.
Well, certainly here in Dubai, everywhere I look, where I live in the marina, a shop closes down and it's another beauty clinic that tends to open up, giving the latest anti-aging treatments, certainly in this part of the world. When it comes to anti-aging, what are some of the strategies in functional medicine?
So anti-aging is interesting. I just actually wrote a book on it because there's so many things we can do without having to take, hormones or do radical drugs. Some of my favorite tips are intermittent fasting, for instance. When you restrict all your calories to an 8-hour period and you're fasting for 16 hours, it triggers mechanisms in the body which stimulate longevity genes. Similarly, if you do extreme temperatures, you go from a sauna to a cold plunge, or you do cryotherapy or just a sauna, that also stimulates your longevity genes. Short bursts of exercise, like high intensity interval training, little stresses like that. So the stress of the exercise, the stress of the fasting, the stress of the temperature extremes, it's called hormesis. Little stresses are actually really good for your body. So something anyone can do is have a hot shower, and at the end of a hot shower, do a cold shower for a minute.
Well, Doctor, if short stresses on the body keep you young, working with our production team here, I must be the youngest person in Dubai, given what goes on. But that's fascinating because you hear so much about, for example, Scandinavian countries. They go from the sauna and then they go in the snow and then back again. And the research has obviously, what does it, rather than just the stress on the body, what is it? Is it the shock to the system, to the nervous system? It wakes it up? How exactly does it work?
Okay, so a couple of things. One of the things it does is it's triggering chemical compounds in your body called longevity gene regulators that upregulates those chemical compounds, upregulate your longevity genes. That's beneficial for your genes because you can turn these genes on and off. The other mechanism it does is that there's something called autophagy, which is self-cleansing in the body. Your body has a detox system. When you stress your body just a little bit, but not too much, it stimulates this cleansing mechanism in the body.
Right. So is this...
Sorry, just why it's important. The cleansing mechanisms in your body decrease as you get older. So once you get older, this process of autophagy is not as efficient. So it helps that. And then the last thing we have to talk about is mitochondria, which are the energy powerhouses in the cells. So these short bursts of stress trigger mitochondrial function, their function and their numbers. So it's really good for you.
You mentioned, right here that as you age and after a certain age, maybe the functioning of the auto detox reduces. What is that age?
Yes. Well, that's a good question. Theoretically, it should be around 40, 45 that these things quite decrease more dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we live our lives today, too much stress, not sleeping enough, eating too much crap, it starts at a much younger age.
Right. So has this been a trend that people have been following, trying to go towards functional medicine for age reversal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't talk about age reversal. I talk about aging well, because we all going to age. It's just
true.
How quickly and how well you age is determined by how you live your life. So yes, there has been a big trend to functional medicine as people realize that they don't have to suffer as they get older. There's been a big trend. Once people understand that you can not only increase your lifespan, but you can increase your health span. How long you stay healthy while you get older.
Well, when it comes to functional medicine, you spoke all about all those, your cognitive and emotional makeup. How much does the antibiotic dependence have on aging? Because certainly I find it strange that in this place, antibiotics are just thrown out everywhere. Pharmacies, doctors. How much does that have, that dependence on anti-aging and functional medicine?
Well, has a major problem. Too many antibiotics are going to kill all the bugs that are sensitive to it, in particular in the gut as well. So it may kill the bug that you're trying to kill. Whether you need the antibiotic or not is another question. But when you take too many antibiotics, it causes a problem in the microbiome, in the gut, with this collection of trillions of bacteria in the gut. And when you cause that imbalance, you trigger something called a dysbiosis, an imbalance in the gut, which then leads to damage to the gut lining, which then leads to inflammatory particles going through the gut wall into the rest of the body, and you get what we call inflammation throughout the body, which is one of the key mechanisms of most diseases and definitely of aging. So great question and really important. You shouldn't just take antibiotics for everything, because it's going to affect this collection of bugs in your gut, which is then going to trigger inflammation all over your body.
Right. Doctor, you mentioned about changing a few things in your lifestyle as a part of reversing, the effects of aging, or aging beautifully, as you say. Does this also affect positively lifestyle-related issues or concerns like, say, diabetes? Does diabetes also be controlled because if we shift our lifestyle for functional medicine?
No question. I mean, diabetes and heart disease, but diabetes in particular is probably one of the easiest diseases to not only reverse, but prevent with lifestyle changes. So for instance, diabetes is the end result of carbohydrate intolerance,
right,
eating too many carbohydrates for what your body is metabolizing. Now there's a whole spectrum. I know in the UAE, I think the number I was given, like 40% of people, some ridiculous number, have diabetes. Well, if that's the case, then probably another 20-30% are pre-diabetic or carbohydrate intolerance. And actually, as you get older, your capacity to metabolize carbohydrates decreases. So the first and most important step is to take out the sugars of processed foods, and often some of the other carbohydrates that we consider normal if you want to reverse diabetes. The grains, for instance. Now, I'm not saying grains are terrible for everyone, but if someone is pre-diabetic or insulin resistant or diabetic, being on a low carbohydrate diet is essential. And at the same time, exercise is important because exercise, your muscles are also a metabolic organ. They help with the metabolism of carbohydrates. So you got to decrease the carbohydrates. You got to increase your exercise, in particular weight training or building up the muscles. And lastly, don't forget about sleep. If you're not sleeping enough, it's going to affect carbohydrate metabolism as well and can lead to diabetes in the long term.
So basically everything in Dubai
guys.
Yeah, so it's basically everything in Dubai is bad for us. That's what you're saying, Doctor.
Well, yeah, listen, I'm from New York, and I see Dubai as a sort of cleaner version of New York, more what I call New York on steroids, but it's cleaner and less aggressive. But yes, the lifestyle is not conducive to living a long, healthy life. But that's what I've come here to change.
That's lovely. So if someone has to reach out to you, and if someone says that, listen, I need to start this process as early as possible, what age should one start working towards their aging gracefully process?
Well, I mean, ideally in your 30s, but that's unrealistic for most people. Most people really start in their 40s. In your 30s, you can still abuse yourself and you don't really feel it. But once you start reaching your 40s, your stomach gets a little bit bigger. You're a little bit more tired. You start getting rings under your eyes. You start getting aches and pains. So in your 40s, I would say, ideally in your 30s, but from your 40s for sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to feel those big nights. It takes a little while longer to get over it. But Dr. Frank Lipman, the renowned global expert in functional medicine from the Wellth Centre in Jumeirah, thank you very much for joining us here on Talk 100.3.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, great to speak to you. So those tips when it comes down to functional medicine, I mean, they're those basic tips that we know. It's getting your 8 hours sleep. It's limiting your complex carbohydrates. It's having a fresh food diet. It's looking after yourself. But, when it does come down to functional medicine, there are so many strategies that you can use to prevent. Prevention is always better than the cure. 100%
prevention is better than cure. But then how many of us actually listen to all these things and really believe that, oh, yeah, we all say, oh, that's all right, just this one weekend. Next week on, I'm hitting the gym, I'm eating clean, nothing wrong. But this continues every week after week.
So you're not 40 yet, are you, Neil?
I'm not, but I've got 3 packs here.
Well, don't worry. When you hit 40, it all changes. Talk